Madume ka lapeng re le amohela lenaneong la rona la mafumahadi lenaneho le keteka mafumahadi a rona a dipapadi mona Afrika Borwa mmoho le mose o buile lenaneho la rona la the Ladies Club mona mo kanaleng ya bobedi moe motle nna lebitso la ka ke Lebohang Motshwedi.
Dumelang, goeiemorgen, good morning. My name is Erin BURGER. It's good to be in your company. Glad that you've chosen to celebrate South Africa's women's sports trailblazers and game changers right here on the Ladies Club. Today we reflect on women who have soared to great heights in the sport of netball. Of course, we always want you to get involved. You're welcome to join in the conversation. On social media, that's just become so much easier. On Twitter, on Facebook, as well as on Instagram, it's so easy, at Sports at SABC, at Lebohang Motshwedi, at Valen Kirtley, and on all of the social media platforms, just use our hashtag The Ladies Club.
Jalo ka Velene a se a buile he ka jene re bua ka mafumahadi a ileng a sebetsa hantle papading ya netball. Women who have soared to great heights in that sporting field. Netball ke papadi e ratang haholo mona mo Afrika Borwa. And over the years we have witnessed a lot of great players rising to the top of their game that have helped raise the profile of South African netball, making us a formidable force on the global stage. It's also thanks to such women who re tlabe re hosta papadi ya rona ya netball ya lefatshe ka 2023, the Women's Netball World Cup. And of course, Kajenu in studio, we are joined by a South African netball player, Erin BURGER, who will share her story and tell us a little bit more about being on top of her game.
I can't wait to get into that conversation, and also because Erin, like a number of our players currently, she's also managed to play overseas, and if we want to take the game of netball further, we also want to see a more professional league here in South Africa, especially building up to that World Cup that you mentioned. So just before we continue with that conversation, let's bring you up to speed with what has been happening. Speaking about World Cups, you know, South Africa has said they're interested in hosting the FIFA Women's World Cup. Well, this coming World Cup in July this year in France, South Africa's going to be there. And in preparation for that, Jamaica's Reggae Eagles played out a measured 1-1 draw with Banyana Banyana in the international friendly at the Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban. South Africa recently, both teams were continuing their preparation ahead of their first World Cup appearances at the FIFA Women's World Cup in June.
Absolutely. Obviously, we're using that as preparations, also to say farewell to the nation ahead of their training camp. But South Africa will also be continuing the build-up to their first ever global event appearance with a high-profile friendly with world's reigning champions, the United States and California. That happens just next month on the 12th of May. So great preparation games that are taking place at work as
I think that Safa are going to add in another warm-up match before World Cup, yeah, after that USA game.
After the USA, absolutely.
I've got a feeling about that.
So far, so
Watch
good.
this space.
So far, so good.
Okay, so before we get going with our discussion with Erin BURGER, we'd like to set the tone with an inspiring quote. Once women have economic independence, then they're able to make the right decisions even more for their families and for society in general. That quote coming from Lindiwe Zulu.
And of course, she is a South African politician, the Minister of Small Business Development. She previously served as the head of communications for the Pan-African Women's Organization in Angola back in 1988. But I love that economical freedom for me means financial freedom as well. Because immediately we have financial freedom as women, we are able to look after ourselves, not be so much dependent on men to bring the bacon to the table. We are able to make the key decisions in our homes as well if we have financial freedom. We're not dependent on anyone to tell us how to do it, when to do it, with whom to do it with, and how to live our lives.
I think it's an African proverb that says you teach a woman and you teach a nation. And that's just the nature of a woman. She doesn't just look after herself, she looks after those around her as well. As she rises, so do others. And that won't be limited to just education. It certainly will be extended to finances too. Okay, so we're off for a break. When we return, we chat to a game changer who is already in studio. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You are watching the Ladies Club. Mona makanaleng ya bobedi hopolang hore rena le Erin BURGER mona mo studio in sa rona o ka bua le yena at Sport at SABC at Lebohang Motshwedi at Valen Kirtley o sebedisa fela hashtag the Ladies Club on all social media platforms.
Before we introduce our game changers, they're up to speed with what's happening in the world of women's sport. Lucy Charles-Barkley of Great Britain won her second Ironman Africa Championship in a row at the Nelson Mandela Bay in South Africa recently. Charles Barkley fought a familiar early race duel with super swimmer biker Lauren Brandon of the US, which was interrupted by German top biker Anja Ippach, who wrested a 3-minute 15-second lead at the end of the bike leg.
And by 10 kilometers of the race, Charles Barkley took charge by 48 seconds margin over Eppach and 3.39 seconds over Brandon. Great work by really our team, South Africa team, women in sport, all our female athletes that took part in the Ironman Africa Championships. Because today we have an amazing game changer, South African netball player, Erin BURGER.
She made her international debut when she was 19 years old against the Roses of England in Birmingham. Last year, she made history by becoming the first South African player to notch up a century of test appearances.
And she boasts a strong game time, which has seen her competing in the 2010 Commonwealth Games in Delhi, 2007 World Netball Champs in Auckland, and of course the 2011 World Netball Champs in Singapore. She maintains that her MVP award at the 2011 Netball World Cup is her most memorable moment. I do wonder what else she has.
Welcome to the show, Erin BURGER. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Sue, you have been in it now for over a decade.
Yeah, don't give away my age.
It's way over a decade. And it's seen you going from strength to strength, better and better player, experience obviously coming to the floor. But with regards to playing hockey, athletics, touch rugby with your brother as well, why did you then streamline your passion to netball?
Well, it started when I was quite young. My brother is a little bit older than me, and he could play rugby, and I also wanted to do sport or be outside and have fun. And then when I turned 8 years old, I could actually play netball, and it was so much fun. I think that first match kind of looked like rugby because if the ball was there, I was there. And I just really enjoyed the competitiveness. And then going to high school, I had to choose, and I felt that I did better in netball, so that was the obvious choice for me.
Wow.
And looking back, I don't think it was the wrong choice. So yeah.
It certainly wasn't. When was the moment that you realized this actually is the sport for me?
I really believe that there's a few doors that opens and others that actually close. So it was just certain opportunities that came along my way, and like at the end of my first year when I got selected into the Protea team first, I think that was kind of a real moment. When I was in school, I didn't really know a lot of the netball players, and I just remember wanting to be a tikkie. Like my dad worked at University of Pretoria, and then I thought that would be the best thing to play for Tuks 1. And in my first year, I got that opportunity as well. So I think probably my first year of studies, I actually realized that netball is kind of something I really want to do.
Wow. But making your debut as a teen, as a 19-year-old, how important has it been for you to be where you are in terms of consistency? Because sometimes people make their debut, they represent South Africa, and they're not able to maintain that form for so many years.
I think consistency is one of the biggest things that I really strive for. For me, someone that is only good for one match isn't really that good, or it's like almost like a flash in the pan type of thing. And thanks, that is a big compliment to think that you can actually be consistent over a few years. So
consistency and patience and keeping your focus. And that's something that I want to bring up. You mentioned your MVP in the intro. Lebo mentioned it in 2011. And you thought, well, the contracts are going to be coming in, because anybody would have thought that. You know, you just get the biggest accolade, individual accolade at a World Championship event. And then you don't get offers in professional leagues in New Zealand, Australia and England. But you remain patient, you remain consistent, and you remain focused on your love and passion for netball. And then your opportunity comes in 2017.
Yeah, it's true. Like, I got a few offers, and some of them were mostly from England. But when the one came from Australia, Australia being the #1 in netball in the world for a few years now, that was just something I couldn't say no to, and it was just a great and awesome experience to see how netball can actually work if it is a fully professional sport, and if you can do it as a job, and you can wake up in the morning, you train, and you get paid to do that. It was really nice. If I think back on that, I think that there's no excuse for you to perform, And I wish that that's something that we can have in our country, to have no excuse. You don't have to say, I didn't go to training today because I had to work or something like that. There's just no excuse. And to be that professional, I can imagine that you can be super competitive, especially against everyone that is ranked above us at the moment.
I just want to know, how did you remain motivated, like after winning that MVP award and then still remaining so consistent and playing at such, you know, high quality netball?
I just think like it's part of how I think about life, and I don't think your best achievements or your best work or your best games happens in your past. I'm a firm believer that it's still in your future. So to me, it feels like I haven't played my best match yet, and hopefully I'm right. So I just work hard to get there. And if I keep on improving, that game is still ahead of me. So, yeah.
Sure, but now tell me about that transition from just playing in South Africa to now playing overseas to where the league is professional.
Yes.
How do you adapt? Because we don't have games day in, day out. It's not a professional league at home. How do you then adapt your form to suit Australian form or New Zealand for some of the players, South African players or England?
Well, you really need to work hard, and I'm really lucky because where I train at SSL, I've got a good trainer that helps guide me. At the Protea team at the moment, we don't have a conditioning coach, so we all have to train on our own. And I
just got goosebumps. How is that even possible?
Yeah.
I know, I mean,
and sometimes people miss that part, like even with quad series, if we do so well against the top countries, and to think that we go into a tour like that in January, we all train on our own in December. So if you don't have a good trainer or a good plan, and that is one of the nice parts of our team, I feel like we all really committed and we all really know what it takes. We've all tasted that international exposure playing against the top countries, and we really want to do well. For us, it isn't just not a professional. We want to be as professional as possible without being professional, if that can make sense. Yep.
Sure. I mean, isn't that just incredible? I mean, you have to put into perspective the kinds of results that they got at the quad series at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
I mean, taking New Zealand into extra time, the best performance that you guys have had since
won.
1995.
I think the time was up. Yeah, that was so close. Yeah, that was also a good highlight. We won England in England after they've won the Commonwealth Games just the year before that. So that is really a game we'll remember for a long time.
Okay, time now for us to take a quick break. We're going to continue chatting with our game changer, Erin Burger, when we return with the Ladies Club. Remember that we're on social media, on all social media platforms, with our hashtag the Ladies Club. Welcome back. You're watching The Ladies Club. Thank you for staying with us. Remember, on social media, hashtag The Ladies Club, on Twitter at Lebo Motswedi, at Valen Kirtley, at SABC Sport.
Let's now take a bit of time and celebrate a lady who has blazed the trail in the sporting world. Our trailblazer today is Bronwyn Bach Jonathan, and she has played international netball for South Africa now for 14 years. Her successes include captaining the World Youth Cup team, 2 Commonwealth Games, captain of the Proteas national team, and flag bearer of Team South Africa at the 2002 Commonwealth Games in Manchester.
What a CV. Following a successful career as a netball player, Bronwyn shifted her focus to coaching and is a high-performance accredited netball coach, enjoying almost 6 years as a full-time coach. She accepted a 4-year contract with Netball ACT Australia and was responsible for athlete and coach development. Let's continue our conversation with our game changer today, Erin Burger, who also is a coach and that has worked with and actually is now partnered to a well-known South African coach in former Proteas coach Elise Kotze and a former player herself. Who inspires you?
Phew. I think there's a lot of people that actually inspires me, and it's not one person, but it's actually personality traits or characteristics in certain players or certain people. So there's not one specific person I would like to highlight, but there's a lot of things that I like, that I can see in people around me, like almost mentors and people like that that I want to be like. So.
And how has the transition from player and current player to coach being for you? And do you think you make a good coach? Or because there is a thing, just because you've been a former national player, a great player, does not necessarily mean that translates to you being a great coach. Your thoughts on that?
I do like to think that I'm a good coach. I think there's room for improvement still, and it's nice for me to know how the players would feel if the coach says something, and I think it has helped my game a lot to think like a coach even when I'm playing, because you try and see the solutions, and when you coach you want to give constructive feedback, and you can't just say you need to do more. What more?
No, what more?
So you need to look at the solutions a bit differently. And I think that helped my game as a player as well, to try and see the solutions and to try and counter the other team and things like that. So I think as a player, I'm actually lucky to be a coach, because it helped my game. And then, from the coaching part, I think I know how a player would feel if you give them a certain type of feedback, or if you're kind, or building someone up, you get a lot more out of a player than actually breaking them down and telling them they're not good. I've never seen a player play better by you telling them they're not good. So, and it's just from personal experience. So I think it works well both ways. So I hope I like to think that I'm an okay coach.
What is the best piece of coaching advice that you've ever been given?
There is a few feedback that some coaches give, and if you actually do it on court, it'll immediately work. So. There's one time that Norma told me to do one thing, and it was to pull the defender wide, and then the next time I did it, and it opened up our shooter perfectly, and she's like, you listen to me, and I'm like, I kind of have to listen to you, the head coach. And in that moment it worked, and it felt really well, felt really nice. So there's been a few good feedbacks, but that's one that I can think of just at the top of my head.
Starting from when you were 19 to now, what do you think still needs to be done to improve the standard of netball in South Africa?
I think talent-wise we're right up there. It is just the exposure part, and with a lot of players playing overseas at the moment, that is just great, because they bring all of that experience back to South Africa again. And I think the more we play internationally, the better we'll get. So it is not I think money will help a lot, if I have to be honest, because if we can get the talent out there and the opportunities to the players, I think we will be right up there with Australia, New Zealand and England. I think just the exposure.
We've got World Cup coming up,
yes.
And obviously you've got some other events leading up to that. Just tell us what your plans are for the next couple of months. From the 19th to the 24th, we have Action Indoor Netball. It is the IPTs. It is in Benoni, so that is something great for all the local players. And there's actually men also playing netball and mixed teams, and that is quite fun, because the guys, it's a bit unfair, but they've got a lot of explosive power. So
I've seen them play.
They're quick and they can jump high, but that actually makes you work harder. And it feels to me like we need to outsmart them then. So that is a good thing for a girl to actually put you under pressure and to play or think a bit more about the game. And then we as a Spa Protea squad has a camp at the end of April. I think we get together on the 28th of April to the 5th of May. And then the Protea squad will leave, the team will leave on the 6th of July to go to play 2 test matches against Wales. And then on the 12th to the 21st of July, it is World Cup.
Sure. Now, in leading up to that, what is a typical day like in the life of Erin Burger, the South African netball player?
If I'm working, let's say last week, then I'll be training in the morning. Last week I did actually train twice in the morning, so I had a court almost speed session, and then I had a long run just before I coached, and then I would coach from 2 to 5 or 3 to 6, usually 3 to 4 hours coaching. And so that is if I work, if I coach. but if I don't coach, then I can train more, and if I coach longer, then I have to train less.
Training,
Yeah.
training,
Yeah.
training, training.
Yes.
Wow.
And
Eat.
in between, eat and sleep
Yes,
as much
yes,
as
yes.
possible. Crucial for
Resting,
recovery.
yeah.
Eat,
Yeah.
sleep, netball.
Yeah.
Eat, sleep, netball.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Just
Pretty much.
how excited are you for after they announced that South Africa would host the 2023 World Championships?
No, it is such a great thing for our country. I really hope everyone pulls up, save money, plan. Every time I go to a new place, I tell them, did you hear? And I just want to share the good news because it's great for our country. It's great for the youngsters. It is just such a cool thing for our country. We have a beautiful country, and I do travel a lot with the coaching, and I see such beautiful places. So for them to have it in Cape Town, I mean, really. So yeah, I hope everyone really put their money behind the country and really supports and sponsors, and I hope netball really grows from this.
Your message to the young girl watching and aspiring to be where you are today.
Yeah. I would say they should really dream big, and then talent alone won't get you there. You really need to work hard. So yeah, dream big, work hard, and never let anyone make you feel that you don't deserve what you really want. Like if you want it, go for it. Yeah.
The last time that South Africa won a medal
Yes.
at the World Championships was silver in 1995, and it happened to be the last time also that the UK hosted the World Championships. They are
Yes,
hosting
please.
again in a couple of months' time. What are the expectations for the South African team?
I think the build-up going into the World Cup, we as a team really feel confident, and we've grown a lot. I can still remember playing and losing to England with 30 goals when I started 10 years ago, and now being where we're in a position where we can actually beat them. So I think confidence-wise and just that belief that we really want it and we really can do it is exciting. I don't want to be or say too much, but we will really try our best, and we really want to improve our position. We're ranked 5th at the moment, so we would really like to move up, hopefully a medal, and yeah, so I'll just say that.
Wow, good luck, and thank you so much for joining us. And I'm so glad you were able to come here first before you head over and represent South Africa at the World Cup.
Thanks so much for having me. Thanks.
Thank you, Erin. It's been wonderful having Erin in the studio, hey?
Yeah, very calming.
Wow.
Calming. She's a national asset.
Okay, so send us your ideas of trailblazers or game changer stories about women in sport that inspire you, even those that you don't like perhaps and you'd like to investigate a little bit more, explore a little bit more. Let's open up those discussions. You can also get involved in the show. We love it when you do.
Our social media details are on the screen, so get in touch as to who you'd like to see being part of the show in the future. But that's all we have time for this week. Thank you so much for spending that time with us right here on the Ladies Club.
Remember that greatness is earned and never given. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.